Good evening. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to District 14 City Council Candidates Forum. I'm Kay Irwin. I represent STAR, St. Thomas area residents. We, along with the Uptown Public Improvement District, are sponsoring this forum tonight. And before we get started, I want to introduce a few people who have made this possible. First of all, the board that represents STAR, the Uptown Public Improvement District, represented by Amy Gibson and Mary Alice Garrison. And we want to thank the Lee Park Conservancy for allowing us to be here tonight. And Gay Donald represents them, and she's going to say a few words.
I'm Gay Donald, I'm president of the Lee Park and Arlington Hall Conservancy. Thank you so much for coming out tonight to hear what these wonderful candidates have to say. I wanted to let you know who's been in the hall in the 90s or earlier. Have you been in that? So you may remember the stage, the condition that it was in. It didn't look so great. It didn't look as nice as it does today. And so a group of thoughtful citizens came together and formed the Conservancy. 5 neighborhood groups recommended that. And so we came together, formed the Conservancy, and it's because of active members that we are still able to keep the grounds lovely, have beautiful flowers planted. Across Turtle Creek Boulevard is also Lee Park, so we've got plans for that area as well. But I'd love for you to pick up one of these on your way out and look into joining the Lee Park and Arlington Hall Conservancy. Thank you so much.
Also, I want to introduce Matt Chance, who is CEO of Uptown Dallas Hospital, who provided us with valet parking tonight.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody valet parked just fine up there. Looks like they were jumping all over the place to make sure we got all of our cars parked. So I'll keep it short and sweet as well. Baylor Medical Center in Uptown. We were right down 11 Avenue. We've been here in the neighborhood for over 50 years at Mary Shields Hospital. But just a couple of years ago, changed our name and we built a new building. We've been in for almost 2 years now. Just a couple of quick overviews of primarily surgical hospital. But we do provide ER services and imaging as well. If you didn't pick one up as you came in, there's little pamphlets with a little, what we call our ER Fast Pass. With that ER Fast Pass, keep it in your wallet, and you can be jumping in front of the line next time you need ER services. So any kind of urgent care services you need along the line. Thank you.
Started now with our forum. Beth Ann Blackwood is our moderator.
So the format tonight is going to be each candidate gets a 2-minute introduction, and then we have 5 questions. They will each have 2 minutes to answer the question. The question may get modified a little bit along the way in case it gets boring or a new topic comes up. And then they will each have a 2-minute wrap-up at the end to either give you a conclusion or if they feel like something needs to be addressed that came up earlier that they didn't get a chance to do so, you'll have that opportunity. We also have Mr. Easel here who's going to hold up a yellow card when you have 30 seconds left in your 2 minutes, and then he's going to hold up a red card when the 2 minutes are done, and then 15 seconds after that, he's going to run up your attack.
15 seconds after that, I'll find out.
$5.
That's way too easy.
I'll keep track right here.
And there are microphones up there that you can pass to each other to answer the questions. And finally, just a final check of your cell phone. If somebody has a cell phone on, you might want to make sure it's on vibrate. Okay, first question, and we'll start in alphabetical order. We'll start down here with Mr. Uptown. The first question is, what do you see as the 3 biggest challenges facing Uptown? Oh, I'm sorry. I blew my own format. Go ahead and do your opening.
Opening, okay.
And then we'll think about the
Well, as Beth Ann said, my name is Bobby Uptahi. I know you're all wondering how to say it, so I will practice with you. It's Uptahi. Perfect. That's the number one question I get. The second question I get is why are you running for city council? I'm born and raised in Dallas. I went to UT undergrad, came back and went to SMU Law School, and I worked as a corporate attorney for a while, but really wanted to give back to the city that had given so much to me and my family. So I went to work as what's called a community prosecutor. You don't have one over here in this part of town because, well, you have one in Uptown, but you don't have one in Turtle Creek area because what a community prosecutor does is they are sent by the city of Dallas, the city attorney's office, and the mayor and council into neighborhoods that have been long neglected by City Hall, neighborhoods that need help. I was sent to the South Oak Cliff area. By working together with code enforcement, the police department, the fire department, and doing the same thing that you all do in your neighborhoods, which is coalition building and looking out for one another, we were able to reduce crime by 26%. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the fact that it didn't take another dollar, it didn't take another officer. It was through hard work, initiatives, and building coalitions. After that, I left the city attorney's office. I sat on the city plan commission. I am very familiar with zoning. When you talk about Uptown, Oaklawn, Turtle Creek, North Oaklawn, and Perry Heights, and all the neighborhoods in this area, we need someone who understands zoning. As a zoning and planning commissioner, I worked together again with my fellow commissioners to make sure that decisions were made based on collaboration and input from all sides. District 14 is a huge district in terms of its diversity of neighborhoods, businesses, and people. We need someone who's going to represent the entire district. That's why I want to do this. I want to get City Hall back to basics. I want to focus on my 3 Ps, which are police, potholes, and parks. The folks who live over here know that Lemon Avenue has plenty of potholes. We have some great parks. We need some increased police presence, whether it's in the Uptown area or Turtle Creek area. It's that vision and that work and experience I have is why Valletta Lil, Craig Holcomb, Craig McDaniel, and Ed Oakley have endorsed me. I'm proud of those endorsements, and I look forward to working with you.
$5.
Somebody keep track, please.
My name is David Blewett. I'm running for City Council, District 14, as we all are. I first moved here in 1984 to attend SMU on a football scholarship. I moved into the district in 1985. I have lived here more or less ever since in every capacity of my adult life. I've lived here as a college graduate, as a young couple, part of a young couple, as a young family, and now I'm kind of a middle-aged guy with 6 kids that are all attending DISD schools. So I actually get a couple of questions also. I get number 1 is, you really have 6 kids? And the answer is yes, I do. A second thing I get is, you're putting them in DISD? And I say, yes, I do. And the third one is, why are you doing this? So I mean, I do get a few questions also. I have been self-employed in the real estate and mortgage business for 15 years. I moved into the M Streets. I bought a house in 1999. I'm in my 3rd house because we keep blowing out the smaller houses. But I love the neighborhood. I love the people. I can't seem to find a place better to live, and so I've decided to get engaged, to get invested, to make it a better place. So I'll circle back to, why am I running? And it goes back to my 6 kids. My family, my wife and I made a decision to build our lives here. And I look at my 6 kids, and I look at how wonderful the life that they're having, the wonderful life that we're building for them. And I think the biggest threat that our district faces, and that Dallas faces, is how to attract and keep middle-aged people like myself and our families here. I see all these wonderful apartments that we're building and young people that are moving into Uptown, that are moving into Farmers Market now, that are moving to all these great places. And I think about the neighborhoods that I live in now and how the transition for young people to go from the apartments to the single-family homes, and then it seems like a lot of them are going to suburbs, and I find that as a big problem. So I'm very much focused in on the idea that public schools can be the anchor for neighborhoods and could be a very attractive place for our middle-aged people to build their lives. So that is the number 1 focus that I have in my campaign. Thank you.
This one more.
Let's start by saying thank you for being here tonight. It is a great week to be in Uptown. As many of you know, this week marks the Celebrate Uptown event. So I invite you all to participate on Friday the 26th for the Spasmatics concert, and then also go shop and eat in the days prior. I say that because I'm the only candidate up here who lives in Uptown. I'm the only candidate who doesn't live east of 75. So when it comes to this neighborhood, I'm it. I also have a different perspective, and the reason why is I have a mother who lives in the district, one of the condos, because she's recently retired. I have a brother that lives in the district who, just like Jim Rogers when he first moved here, lives in the village apartments. So when you talk about perspective and representing the diversity, I see it all. From the first person to get out of school to the people who are in retirement, and a young family like my wife and I have who choose to live in Uptown. My wife and I met at Villanova University, where I earned a degree in Management Information Systems. And that's important because one of the challenges City Hall has faced is providing better services. Only 45% of people feel like they get an adequate return on their dollars. One way we can improve that is leveraging technology. By having that degree and having that background, I'm the candidate who can bring that. It's not just an iPhone app, it's more than that. It's about having a permitting process that modernize. It's about borrowing best practices from other cities like Boston with their program called Urban Matters. In addition to that, this neighborhood is cited as one of the best ones for walkability in Dallas. Dallas Morning News right now is doing a whole report on all the neighborhoods in the city, which is best for which areas. We got #1 in walkability, and that's one of the top things for me. Specifically, I talk about crosswalks. One in particular that I'm concerned about is down at Clybourne Park. Uptown PID, who actually is one of the sponsors tonight, gave $350,000 to build the park. Now we have a situation where there's a safety issue down there. Pearl Street's become like a highway, and we need to improve the crosswalk so that we don't have an injury or some child get run over. And the final thing I talk about is that this district represents the largest tax base in the city. The commercial side is the largest, and the residential side is one of the largest. When you think about that, you have to keep in mind that you need somebody who's going to represent your interests and fight against higher taxes. Thank you.
Hi y'all, I'm Philip Kingston, and I am really excited to get down to City Hall and start working for you. I see a lot of friendly faces in the crowd. Have worked with many of you before on projects relating to all kinds of different land use issues in District 14. I am a longtime member of the Lower Greenville Neighborhood Association Board, where I served as its expert on zoning and land use issues. In that role, I built a coalition of neighborhood associations that, as far as I can tell, looking back through history, had never actually managed to even be civil to each other, much less work together before. And what we did was respond to specific use permit applications on Greenville Avenue. As part of the Greenville Plan Development District, we had to help clean up Greenville. I'm very proud today to say that crime is way down in Greenville. Rents are going up. We now have daytime retail. Many of the things that I think that residents of Star and of Uptown in general are focused on when it comes to that interaction between a great residential neighborhood and also great local businesses. I've got a lot of experience making those two things work together well. And I want to represent you at City Hall to do that same thing in this neighborhood. Let me tell you, the story of District 14 in the last 10 years or so is really compelling. It has the only real growth in population in the city, and it has the largest increase in commercial tax base in the last 10 years. How did we do that? We did that by focusing on giving people excellent places to live and then giving them excellent city services. When you focus on that residential quality of life, robust private development will follow it, as you have seen on your doorstep. I want to keep that cycle going. The city is not altogether agreeable to that model, and I think we need to change the budgeting priorities at City Hall to move from large, wasteful projects to the stuff that makes our lives better every day.
This one on? Nice. Well, greetings, my friends. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Chuck Kovish. I'm a resident of District 14 for 13 years. I live with my beautiful wife, Sonia, and our two children, Charlie and Emmy. Charlie is 5 and Emmy is 10. They both attend St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic School, where we are also parishioners. I am a small business owner. I am a doctor of chiropractic. The name of my practice is Backmenders. It's located at Abrams Northwest Highway in the Medallion Shopping Center, also in District 14. I want to tell you a little bit about my community service and why I've been inspired to run for Dallas City Council. I dedicate, and have for many, many years, 5 hours a week to community service, to helping small businesses build their businesses. 5 hours a week, often more, rarely less. In September 2008, I co-founded an organization called East Dallas Networking. It is a small business networking and referral organization. We meet every week. We have attendance that averages about 60 small business owners every week. We help each other build our businesses. Very successful organization. I'm also the founder of a semi-annual event called Meet East Dallas. I had the idea to bring together all these different organizations in East Dallas under one roof. East Dallas Networking, Live Local East Dallas, Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce, Ferguson Road Initiative, Lakewood Area Women in Business, all these different organizations together so we can work together to build each other's businesses and the memberships and the charities that we also support. I am a current board member of Live Local East Dallas, former board member of the Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce, currently serve on the membership committee. I am a member of the current group of Leadership DISD, the current class of Leadership DISD. One of the things that I was awarded with is I recently received the Chairman's Award, which is given by the Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce for outstanding service to the community. What I will bring to City Council is I will bring transparency, accessibility, integrity, and leadership. We will focus on many, many areas, and I'm sure we'll be talking about some of those here tonight. I ask for your support. On May 11th, I ask that you choose Chuck. Thank you.
It's only a couple seconds over. Is that $2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Judy Limatanen. I am obviously the only woman in the race. We have lived here, my husband and I have lived here for 8.5 years. We live in the M Streets, I live on Merrimack. I've been active in the Neighborhood Association for 5 years. I have been a community leader and volunteer my entire career. My husband and I started out in West Virginia when we were babies, and I grew up in the Midwest. My husband grew up in California. He's a mining engineer. We started out in West Virginia, and while I was there in the 70s, in Morgantown, West Virginia, I helped open one of the first domestic violence shelters in that state. Then we were transferred to Pittsburgh. I did that job, and my children came along. I was PTA president in the elementary, the high school. We lived in Mount Lebanon, which is the community that Mark Cuban grew up in. I also ran for school board in that district. I did almost every volunteer job you can think of. Then guess what? We moved again. We moved to San Diego, California. I did CASA in California, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Children. That has to do with foster kids, and I was specially trained to work with teenage boy. I had a teenage boy. Then guess what? We moved again. Now we're in Dallas. I bring a different perspective because I have lived a lot of different places. My adult children moved here after we did. My son moved here first with his lovely fiance. They got married after 2 months. We now have a grandbaby with them. They live in Hollywood Heights. My daughter finished college, decided everyone else was here. She moved here also. She brought her boyfriend, who became her fiance. They got married, and they live in Hollywood Heights, 4 blocks from my son, because they want the cousins to play together. So we have a strong base in Dallas. This is our home. It will be our future home. My husband is an international vice president of a global company out of Switzerland. He travels a lot. I will be full-time, as will Jim. We're the only 2 on the council who will say we will be full-time volunteers. And that, thank you. I appreciate your support.
Hi, I'm Jim Rogers. A woman called me yesterday and she asked for a yard sign. She told me that she had reviewed all the candidates, and the reason she wanted a yard sign was because her analysis was that I was the candidate who had done the work. I was not building a campaign on slogans and platitudes. I have done the work. Look at my bio, which I passed out to many of you. I have done the work, and I want to work hard for you. I have done the work, and I can work with others. And that is a big distinction. If you look on my bio, you'll see the list of civic organizations that I have been asked to join, and then I've been elected president. Civic organizations do not elect people as their leader if that person cannot work well with the people in the organization and people outside of the organization. If you want to know about my work to shut down drug houses, I'd be glad to share that with you. If you want to know about my work rebuilding a dilapidated house in a historic district, I could share that with you. If you wanted to know about me making sure that everyone's opinion is valued, I could share that with you. If you want to know about my getting a number of people to develop a shared goal and then accomplish that goal, I could share that with you. You have significant issues in the St. Thomas and Uptown area. In my opinion, you need a council member who not only can work hard, who can work well with others, you also need a council member who has the time to answer your phone calls, to respond to your emails, to meet with you, and to come out and work with you actively to solve your problems. If you agree with me that you need a dedicated council member, then I want to assure you that I am committed to being a full-time council member, and I think that's what it takes. It takes a full-time council member. I really think that I am the candidate who will work best for you. I ask for your support, and I will ask for your vote on May the 11th, and I've got a red card.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now we get to the question. And we're going to start with Mr. Blewett. And the question is, what do you see as the three biggest challenges facing Uptown?
The three biggest challenges facing Uptown. I think that the first challenge facing Uptown is how to grow, Dallas in general, not just Uptown, is how to grow our property base, our tax base. And that means redeveloping and improving our existing infrastructure and our existing development. So when you start talking about phase one is how do we develop our areas, it gets into the next phase, which is how do we manage our existing neighborhoods along with our existing areas, along with the areas that we're going to be developing. So when you start talking about the role of a city council person, it is to get all the parties together and manage the old and the new. The third thing facing you guys would just be general infrastructure and crime. I mean, those are city things that have gotten better in terms of crime, but if you start talking about parking, if you start talking about all the different development that's been going on, how are we going to manage the new bars, the new restaurants, the new people that are coming in here, the noise issues that are coming in here. These are issues that are going to be ongoing, and these are things that reflect the demographic changes that are happening in Uptown. So when I start talking about how Dallas needs to attract and keep middle-aged people, what I'm really talking about is that Dallas needs to grow up a little bit. That we can't just keep having younger people coming in here, because younger people mean bars, younger people mean restaurants, and believe me, there was a time when I loved that. That was me 15, 20 years ago. But today, I'm a different guy. And today, I like my peace and quiet. And I like my services. I like things that are around here. But it's got to be within balance. And it's got to reflect the demographics of our neighborhoods. So I've kind of bounced around through them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Curley?
Yeah, I would say it's too popular and it's too successful. And the problems that it's led to are, number one, is density, right? Is if you just drive down the street on Lemon, you'll see we're building some new apartment buildings and some new condo buildings. And so we're going to add 10, 20,000 residents. And there hasn't been a plan put in place of how to deal with all those people. How are these people going to get around? Are they going to be on foot? Is it going to be public transportation? Or is it going to be motorism? That's why I advocate the Complete Streets program, and we'd like to see that further implemented. So that would be issue number one. Number two is the delicate balance that we have between businesses and homeowners. In the last 5 days, you really started to see in the media the fight between the Katy Trail Ice House and the neighbors who live across the street. So that would be number two, is how do you balance that? And I think it's a very important issue, and the way I would do it is meeting with all the stakeholders, finding out, all right, what's the real problem? Are they being too loud above the decibel limits that already exist, or are you just complaining about something and they're within the laws that we've already governed? The third thing that I would talk about would be that there's a lack of schools in Uptown. North Dallas High School there, Ben Millen there, but throughout the urban area of Dallas, this new urbanism has been great, but most of the people who have kids have moved to Lancaster, DeSoto, or up to Plano. So the challenge that we have there is that if you want to keep young people there, you have to put a school there, and it has to be a great school.
The quick answer to the question is integrating density, infrastructure improvements, and transit. But the overarching concern is the nature of Uptown. Uptown has been, and it's no secret, the absolute engine of Dallas for the last 10 years. If you take Uptown out of Dallas, Dallas would have lost residents between 2000 and 2010, and that's really frightening. If you know anything really about city planning, loss of population is not a good sign. It's Detroit stuff. The issue with integrating density it'll create new issues, but they're good problems to have in a way. If we do the planning correctly, then what we're going to be doing is adding the most creative, productive, energetic people to Uptown in the next 8 to 10 years. They will bring with them private investment, and that will be great. But we do have to take care that what we do along the way is that good, collaborative development that we've done so far in in Uptown. I think the Oaklawn Committee, frankly, is a very good model for a dense area. It will trade off some of the limitations it has under PD 193 that governs a lot of Uptown in order to get other stuff at once. It's given up on the height restriction on a couple of projects in order to get narrowness of the building, green space around the bottom, and daytime retail. And that is how you do it. When you're involved in these neighborhoods, when you've done as many of these neighborhood meetings as I have, what you learn are the skills for getting people to talk to each other and meet issues. And I think that work that I've done over the years and the successes we've had on Greenville, Skillman, over in Lakewood, are the reason that I earned Angela Hunt's endorsement in this race.
So obviously, when being asked what are the 3 big problems in this area, obviously the people who know best are you. And so anybody that's going to be representing you on the Dallas City Council needs to ask you, needs to be available and accessible to you to find out what the issues are and how we best address them. Having talked with a lot of folks, having spoken with a lot of folks that live here, having spoken with some of the businesses that work here, I believe that some of the biggest problems that we've got in this area, you've got parking, noise, traffic, I'm going to pump those into 2, and then also a thoughtful balance between the neighbors, between the homeowners, and the businesses. Parking, we were speaking earlier about some of the resident-only parking, that's fantastic. The noise, yes, the Cape Trail Ice House, that is a problem. The traffic, that is also an issue, especially on Friday and Saturday nights, when you may have some folks who have been overserved, if you will, getting in their cars. That is a tremendous safety issue. We need to address that. You've got to look at enforcement. How many of you in here are parents? Raise your hands. Okay, so parents, either you have small children or you had small children. When you enforce the rules, do you do it haphazardly or do you do it consistently? Anyone? Okay, the answer is consistently. All right, you need to be consistent with enforcing the rules. Otherwise, it's ineffective and inefficient. Okay, we have inconsistent code enforcement, and we need to make sure that we've got that enforcement going properly, and it needs to be consistent. With respect to the balance between the development and the businesses, if you are entrenched on this side as a developer and you are entrenched on this side as a homeowner, balance is a 4-letter word. I believe that if you get folks together, reasonable people with reasonable amounts of wiggle room, we can make a compromise and do what's right for the neighborhood. I believe in neighborhood-driven leadership, and that depends largely on you.
Probably the most important issue in all of Dallas is schools, and I will just say that not lightly, because everywhere I've walked, schools have become an issue, and that's true in your community also, maybe to a lesser extent, but it's still there. And schools, we don't have, unfortunately, a whole lot of things we can do with them, but we can put some pressure on DISD to improve them, because Kevin's right, if you want young families to stay in your neighborhoods, you need to provide some place for them to go to school. The second problem is parking, and parking all over the city is an issue, and especially when you're crowded and as dense as you are. And somehow we need to make the issues with, especially the parking that's for entertainment purposes, we need to figure out a way to put parking someplace where people can park, and then transport them around the areas without them getting back in their automobile. And some of those innovative ideas are little golf carts that come when you text them, because maybe not all of us are as handy at Texas, but the young kids are. And that they go the distances that cabs don't go, because cabs won't pick you up and just drive you a mile. They're not real fond of those fares. So that's another alternative to look at. And also, we need to look at things. We need to look at apartment buildings being built. We need to check out how dense they are going to be. What kind of people are they attracting? Are they attracting young families? Are they attracting couples? Are they attracting singles? Where are those cars going to park? How are they going to influence the structures that are already there, the public spaces? We need to look at that carefully before we allow development to come into each community, across the city, frankly, but especially in Uptown where it is so dense.
The stories that I've heard about Uptown and State Thomas, one of the main issues is parking. One person told me that whenever a restaurant opened near her, all of a sudden all their service people, to sort of stay out of the customer's way, started parking all along her street. And whenever, if she, on a weekend, wanted to have something at her house, then she had to ask people to park literally 5 and 6 blocks away, and then she had to go get them and bring them to her house. That won't work. So I hate to have something like resident-only parking, but it may be necessary. On another issue is the bars, two different aspects of it. One, those people who live very near, well, and I guess it is the people who live very near the bars who have the problems. One is the noise that the bar patrons make when they leave at 2 o'clock at night. If you have a bedroom along a street and you live near a bar, then I'm told you will be awakened at 2 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, the way that is, I assume most of us know the way that has been dealt with in other areas, and that is to end up with requiring bars, in order to stay open after midnight, to have an SUP. The reality is that then they start trying to monitor the situation, because if they end up not being able to stay after midnight, then they end up not being profitable and they end up closing. The other issue is the noise, specifically the Cape Trail Ice House, and I've been told by people in Park Towers that they in fact had an assistant city manager and a code enforcement person that came out there over a year ago, went up to one of the units, measured the sound, and the sound violated the city's code. And they say nothing's been done about that. As a council member, as a full-time council member, I will not expect just the assistant city manager and the code to be out there. I will expect me to be out there, and we will get something done. Thank you.
This is one of the best times to go last. Usually in these forums, the person who goes last, everything has already been said. This is the first time I can honestly say that I didn't hear the answer. And I can tell you I know the answer because I've been to the last 3 STAR meetings. When I started this process, I met with Kay Irwin, I met with Beth Ann Blackwood, I met with Robert Wright, I met with Neil Sleeper, I met with Tony Winkler, a whole host of folks. I met with Felicia and Hank Rossi, who I see in the room, because I'm not here to tell you what your 3 biggest problems are. I'm here to listen and for you to tell me what they are. And from what I've heard, it's police, parking, and parks. Luckily, Griggs Park is on its way. We need more green space in Uptown, but that's on its way. Police, because I was at the last STAR meeting, I know there was a shootout at the Trophy Room on McKinney Avenue. So we still have low-level crime. We have crime that's occurring in Uptown. And luckily, thanks to the Uptown Kid and their donation of the bicycles to the DPD officers, hopefully that will resolve that. Parking. I know, we all know that's the elephant in the room. There's a parking issue. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you in 2 minutes I can solve it because I know how much work has gone into it. What I will tell you is that it will be one of my first tasks to get the groups together and get them to come to a solution. There is no one side to that argument. Both sides have valid points, and we need to figure it out because both sides are dependent on each other. An example of how I did that is, I told you earlier, I'm a former community prosecutor and I work with the city of Dallas. I was sent to a part of town that had an influx of drug houses. These houses were burned out, and I've got 30 seconds, so I gotta speak fast. But I was told that we don't have money to tear these down, we don't have money to do this, we don't have money to do that. So I went and found a program with the National Guard that would come in, you seize money from the DEA, and tear the drug houses down for free of charge to the city. That involved getting the state government, the federal government, community leaders in southern Dallas, city staff, all the way from public works, sanitation, city manager's office, city attorney's office, all these different groups. I was told it couldn't be done. It took me a year and a half, but we did it. We revitalized neighborhoods, and we saved the city $500,000. So I vow to do that with your problems.
This question should have been set up by your answers to the previous one. Because now we're going to get even more specific for the people that we didn't have time to get a specific plan. So now we'll get a little more specific. And the question is, what zoning changes, if any, do you think are needed in Uptown? And I'm going to start with Mr. Kirby.
Can I ask if we can reduce the response time to 1 minute? That would be more question. I think everybody's probably okay with that. Yeah, as far as zoning goes, what I would actually talk about is a little thing called, it's chapter 43 of the city code, and it's sections 112 and 115, and that's getting really technical, but what it is it's an ordinance basically, it's a part of an ordinance, it's a permitting process that says if you want to have sidewalk cafes, if you want to have an awning, or you want to have push carts along the streets, you have to pay a fee. And in order to do that, you have to go down to the city and go through this whole process to make it happen. What I'd like to see the change be is to have that go away, because I'd like to see more dining options that are al fresco dining. So when you go in West Village, you see Taco Diner and Mi Casino. I'd like to see more of that along McKinney. I'd like to see more of that on Cole. I'd like to see more of that in Uptown, because I think that's what makes a vibrant neighborhood. I think that's what gets people outside walking. So when you're walking down the street, you feel like there's a whole city around you. You feel like you're in, Manhattan as opposed to, another block in Dallas. You feel like there's a lot of life around. So that would be the major change that I'd like to see.
One of the best things that the city has done recently in Uptown is temporary zoning. And I say that because it was Neil Sleeper's idea, and he's right there, so I'm going to parrot it back while he's sitting there. When you have an area that has many uses, such as Uptown, and it has larger tracts of land that aren't developed, they're actually, as dense as certain parts of Uptown are, it's actually still not even close to fully developed. When you have that going on, you need to give people a way to utilize their property in a temporary way without jeopardizing their base zoning. And that temporary zoning that we did for the area around City Place has been a real boon. And that kind of creative thinking, I think, has a lot of potential application in Uptown.
With respect to zoning, I'd like to go back to some of the challenges, the three big issues here in the Uptown area. The balance between development of business and the neighborhoods and the property owners here. I think that Uptown is a shining example of what could be in many places around Dallas. Several weeks ago, we were at the Stakeholders of Farmer Market Forum. There are great things going on there. They're sort of creating a mini Uptown there, if you will, and I think that's fantastic. Again, we have to pay mindful attention to the neighbors, to the homeowners there, but we need to bring development here. I'm a small business owner. I'm a fan of business. I'm a fan of development, but not at the expense of the homeowners. So you've got to have, again, that neighborhood-driven leadership to listen to the homeowners and make sure that things are being done properly. But I think that the only way that we can increase the tax base here, which can reduce our property taxes potentially, is to increase the business. And I believe that another business will follow a successful business, and I think we just need to have proper development with respect to the zoning.
There was a recent study out that talked about the green space around densely populated areas, and I think that is probably one of the zoning issues for Uptown, because the green space is disappearing fast, and that makes a difference on your quality of life. If there is no green space, nature has a wonderful way of calming people down, and if there's places around that you can walk in that are green, I mean, you're lucky along Turtle Creek to have that wonderful space, but when you get into the more urbanized parts of your neighborhoods, there isn't that space, and that's important. And so you're going to have to look carefully at the next zoning, as each zoning issue comes up, that as Phillips talked about, there are blocks of places that are still undeveloped, and we need to look hard before they are zoned all commercial, all residential, and no green space.
I really don't know about any specific zoning. I will tell you that I have a reputation, and my reputation is that I'm Jim Rogers. I'm the neighborhood guy. The group of people that I have looked out for 32 years has been neighborhoods. Every committee I've been on, every board I've been on, every commission I've been on, every time I've worked on any issue, I've always been there fighting on the side of the neighborhoods. I'm not anti-development, I'm pro-respectful development. And I think that all development should be respectful of the neighborhoods that exist. That is what I will fight for, that's what I will work for, and that's what I really would hope that we would be able to get. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in terms of the zoning changes that might be required, and something that we'd like to look forward to going future, I think would be green space, and I think also opening connectivity. We need to connect the various parts of this district, whether they be Uptown, Turtle Creek, the Katy Trail. We need to open up our district to more walkability, whether it's having incentives for larger setbacks, maybe go up a level but have more green space on the bottom floor. It all needs to look we need to look at all of it. I think plans that were made long ago have come to fruition, and we're in that next phase. So I wouldn't be opposed to having the city put forth a group of folks, including a lot of people in this room, to look at what can we do into the next phase of the development.
I guess I'm officially middle-aged because there was a time when I moved into the M Street area, Lower Greenville, that I loved all the restaurants and bars. I loved all the late-night activity. So now I'm 47, I've got a bunch of kids, and quite frankly, I like the peace and quiet. I've mentioned that. I think about Uptown. I think about all the changes that are happening over here. And I guess I'm going to throw the young people under the bus. Because quite frankly, I look at us attracting what we're talking about in the farmer's market, the challenges over there. We look at what's happening over here in Uptown. And the reality is we have lots and lots of young people, and young people want restaurants and bars just because that's what they want. And that's wonderful. But you know, when things get out of balance, when you have too much of anything, it gets a little shaky. And I just wonder if maybe we're getting too many restaurants and too many bars and too many things happen after midnight. And then when you put that in comparison together with the idea of a car-centric society, I don't see that as beneficial to what we want as we kind of mature, like I said. So I actually would look at special use. I would look at after midnight permitting and kind of limit the after midnight activities. And for those of you who are young, I apologize. Thank you.
Well, currently in Uptown, all residential development has to provide enough parking for the residents, including apartments and homes, condominiums. Businesses are not treated that way. Businesses in Uptown only have to have 1 to 2 parking spaces. Would you be for or against changing the zoning to require businesses to have the same amount of parking they'd be required to have if they were in another part of town moving forward? And I'll start with you.
Short answer, no. And that requirement actually applies more to Star than it does to the rest of Uptown. This is an area that we need to look at preserving the residential livability of, and I'm perfectly willing to look at increasing parking one way or another. But I think that the plan that gave us Star, that gave us the State Thomas neighborhood, is one that is pretty good. Now, I'm for plans being flexible, and if the neighbors want to reopen it, there's a process for doing that, and I am a big fan of neighborhood self-determination. If the neighbors come down and say, we've got to have more commercial parking, then we're going to have more commercial parking. But just looking at it on the surface, I think there's a way to reach agreement here without having to go back in and reopen a zoning tool that frankly is working.
I would be open to looking at that. I mean, I think that you always have to look at every side. Parking is an issue and it must be addressed. When I know that, you know, I would often have more questions than answers. I mean, you have to you have to surround yourself with people who you know and trust. I mean, you don't have to have all the answers on city council, but you have to bring people on your committees that are going to have, committees and your commissions and such that will have the answers, people that you trust, people who know that they can speak freely with you, people who can speak with the businesses and the homeowners to find out what the real needs are. I would be open to entertaining that idea. We had a forum, I believe it was last week, where we were asked a similar question: how do you address the parking issues? And in some of these areas, we actually need a parking garage, I believe. Well, good luck with that. I mean, the neighbors don't want it; it's an eyesore. The developers don't want to pay for it because it's a lot of concrete and it's expensive. But we have to come together. We have to build these coalitions and bring everybody together to come up with a solution. So I would entertain the idea. Is it the right idea? I don't know, but we could find out.
Well, the parking that's already available is one thing, but I think you need to look hard at any phase of development that comes forward at the West Village model, which, you know, is inclusive to parking inside the structure, which is wonderful. I mean, sometimes it is overcrowded, but it mostly suits that establishment quite well. So any future development, I think you definitely will have to look hard at providing that kind of parking either inside the structure or outside the structure, because number one, I think it must hurt business, because if you can't park, why would you shop there? I mean, you'd move on to someplace else. So for that reason, I think that you have to look hard at every business. We have the same problem on Greenville. I know store owners there who have gone out of business because there is no parking for them, or the few parking spaces there are taken up by one business solely, and they never have any availability. So I think this is something that needs to be addressed.
I told you I'm Jim Rogers, the neighborhood guy, so, you know, that's sort of what I am. So I'm out to protect neighbors, I'm out to protect people who live there. And I'm assuming this wouldn't be a question if it wasn't an issue. Obviously, the existing properties would be grandfathered, so we're not talking about shutting down anybody that's there. But I don't see how it's equitable, fair, right, or anything else to say when you build a residence, you have to provide enough parking for them. But when you build or convert a property into commercial use, you don't have to provide enough parking for them. That just doesn't make sense to me. So yes, I would be most supportive, but only if the neighborhood in general also supported it. But yes, assuming that they do, I would be most supportive of requiring adequate parking for any use that's built anywhere. Thank you.
I'm of the theory that more parking brings more traffic. I think you all are kind of what you're talking about is because you've had such success that you're drawing people from outside the neighborhood to your establishments. I'd be willing to work with the neighborhood to take a look at what solutions we can make, but I think the answer is more multimodal transportation. I know folks who live on Clark Street that drive to Staten Island Lounge. And some of them are in this room, I won't name who they are. But that's part of the problem. So we need wider sidewalks, we need different ways of getting around. The McKinney Avenue trolley is a good example. We need to fix the taxi cab situation on McKinney. It's too dangerous, it's not pedestrian friendly. So those are the types of infrastructure and multimodal transportation ideas I would like to bring to the table. Whether we need to look at the parking ordinance and whether commercial should mimic residential, I'm afraid you'll have a problem of just bringing more traffic in. So I think we need to sit down at the table, and you all have done more work on this than anyone up here has. So I think it's a good idea to take a look at.
I would be open to the idea of changing zoning for parking, but it would only come with the stakeholders like y'all involved in pushing on it, because it's going to affect you the most. But you know, we are a car-centric society, and other major urban areas have had to face this. We're not alone here, and nobody has figured out a great solution. You look at some of these other cities like Chicago, Boston, New York, their solution is to not be car-centric, and their solution is to use taxi cabs. Well, we're a long way away from that. You know, cabs are getting better. I notice a lot of people are using cabs, there are a lot more of them around, but we haven't gotten there yet. So if we're looking for some magic solution that's going to fix the parking issue, the magic solution is a lack of development, a lack of density. And everybody says they want density and they want development. So that means this is an ongoing issue. There is no magic solution, but I would work with all the stakeholders to figure it out. And I think it can be adequately addressed. I think that you can figure out a way that everybody can win, at least to a limited degree. We don't want to go into decline, so we're going to have to deal with this issue.
Yeah, my answer would be no. It's a simple reason. This area, State Thomas, they're called mixed-use development, which is a word you haven't heard yet from the other speakers. It's part of the new urbanism movement. And the point is you live in the same place, you shop in the same place, you eat in the same place, you work in the same place. That's what these neighborhoods are for. That's why they exist. So I don't think we need to see a change. The second thing, as far as young people are concerned, it's overwhelming. The number one issue is safety. It's not bars. We'll find those, don't worry about that. It's safety. Overwhelming, and that's from whether the time you're 10 years old, whether you're 90 years old. Throughout human history, at any level of election, whether national or local, number one is safety. It's always safety. And that brings me to my next point, which I finally converted Bobby to connectivity. Throughout this entire election, on every one of my postcards, you've seen me talk about multimodal, you've talked about crosswalks, you've seen me talk about making Dallas better for pedestrians. And I finally converted Bobby. I'm very excited about that. So I'll close with saying that, I think the thing is different neighborhoods have different solutions. Here it's mixed use, and that's what we need to keep doing.
Going up into a condominium, or hearing about measuring of noise regulation in condominium, and it was non-compliant and nothing happened with it. That is a problem here in Uptown. And the question is, what solution do you propose, if any, to deal with the failure of code and police to enforce noise and other ordinances against businesses that are not compliant?
Am I first?
No. You will be first, though.
I think it gets back to the code enforcement, and that is terribly frustrating. And I have read about the K-Trail Ice House and the issues there. I would be furious. I mean, I would be absolutely furious. Forget about having children that would be woken up. I mean, just being there, wanting to enjoy an evening at home. I would be furious with the sound levels. And again, keep in mind, I'm a small business owner. I'm a fan of business, but you've got to be respectful of your neighbors. If you can't get your neighbors, you can't get your business neighbors to respect you and to turn the volume down, or have fewer people in the bar, whatever it may be, so the noise volume comes down. If they're not going to do it, then you have to make them do it, and you have to do that through code enforcement. Do we need more folks working in code enforcement? Perhaps. My guess is that they are overworked. They are probably underpaid. Is that something that we need to address? Absolutely. The big question is, where's the money? Show me the money. Where's the money going to come from in order to pay those folks? You need to address all the inefficiencies in government, but code enforcement is the key. Again, you have to be consistent about it. You cannot be inconsistent with your children. Oh, sorry about that. So, the children, K-Trail Ice House, consistency there.
Well, we hear the same argument. I live close to Greenville Avenue, and we have the same problem, but the other side, the flip side of that is those bars have been there longer than some of the houses have been there, so we can't really argue with them as easily as you can argue with the Katy Trail, because that bar has just come in existence in the last 2 years. And it's a wonderful place. I mean, I've had bicycled down to it myself. I've had a drink, but had a hamburger, and bicycled home, and that's a wonderful little experience. It's sort of like living in Austin. But I do think that there has to be limits. I think code violations have to be enforced. I mean, you just cannot. I would be like Chuck. I would be furious if every night I had to listen to the pounding music and the noise. That would be unconscionable. So I think you definitely have to, pick your battles, and that would be one that I would pick.
If you give me 30 minutes, I can tell you war stories about code enforcement, whether it's in West Dallas or it's in Bryan Place, or it was when I was on Clean Dallas East, and so forth and so on. Just war story after war story after war story of what's code doing, what should they be doing, what are they not doing. That's one of the reasons I want to be your council member. And that's one of the reasons I said I pledge to you to be a full-time council member. If a council member is not full-time, they do not have the time to come out here and go up on park towers with the code people. They don't have time to come out and get the code people to come out with them and stand there and look at the taxi cabs that are blocking traffic. And so what I will do, if I'm your council member, is if you have a problem, you call me, I will schedule it, I will meet you out here. I don't care if it's 11 o'clock at night or 2 a.m. in the morning. I will meet you out here with the code people, and believe me, if I am the council member and I'm out here with the code person, they will address your problem. Thank you.
Can I be full-time and a half? I work 60 hours a week for everyone, so I'll be full-time and a half. I'll come out too. Look, it would be easy for me to stand up here and really just pander and say we're going to shut down all the bars. But that's short-sighted. The city of Dallas, anyone who's been here long enough knows that we have this interesting history with our entertainment districts. Whether it's West End, Deep Ellum, Lower Greenville, we have this leave it alone for far too long so it becomes a problem, then over-enforce till everyone shuts down. So I don't think anyone here wants everyone to shut down. So what I would say is we have to look for solutions, but we have to be careful. What that means is having the pendulum kind of in the middle. And that goes back to what I talked about with the city making sure that McKinney Avenue is safe, because I guarantee you if one person gets hit by a car, that entire strip will shut down because the city will be under such pressure to go over-enforce everything. We need to have consistent code enforcement. We need to look for solutions, but we have to proceed with caution.
Consistent code enforcement is a big part of it, but underlying all of that is the idea of property rights. Basically, we all have property rights. Bar owners have property rights too. There's that old joke, right? Your rights end at the point of my nose. And so when we're talking about noise or anything else, their rights end at the point where it breaks, well, it affects your rights. So consistency is a big part of it. And yeah, I'll stay with that.
Yeah, so specific examples, I would say there are really two. I've met with owners and talked to them. The Katy Trail Ice House is one, and Hacienda on Henderson is the other. And what I found by talking to the owners is they've actually tried their best to be reasonable. They've tried to talk to what usually is 3 people in a place behind them. And they said, you know what, I understand you have family in town, I'll put you up in a hotel. And you know what the neighbor said? No, that's not good enough. I want to shut your bar down. Well, that's not a good way for a neighbor and a business to get along. So I think it's important that you have somebody there to mediate. And if the city council can add value, I'd be happy to be that mediator. I think if somebody is breaking code, you can enforce that code. If they're not, and people are harassing them, then you need to make sure that action is taken as well. There's kind of an old joke at City Hall about Love Field, that there was this one woman that really wanted to shut down lights at a certain hour. So she called them every single day and left complaints. At the end of the month, there were like 35 complaints, and 33 of them were for her. And she goes, well, you had 35 complaints. She goes, yeah, but we only count you once. And so you have to figure out, is the whole neighborhood, is the whole area upset, or is it just a couple people? An interesting note about the Cage Hill Ice House, if you want to talk about wholesome fun, the place that was there before was a swingers club.
It was a really quiet swingers club. I heard. Let me tell you, code isn't easy. Code is not easy. And one thing that I can tell you is I'm the only candidate in this race who has dealt with the noise ordinance on code. I'm dealing with one right now on Greenville Avenue. And it's really, really hard. Nobody likes getting woken up in the middle of the night. And when you have amplified music on a rooftop deck, you really have to wonder whether that operator is ever going to be compatible with that neighborhood. Turns out they weren't, and they're gone. And that's the answer to that. There are a number of techniques I can help you with in order to get code enforced, and it's something I can do, I have a history of doing, and I will bring to bear on council. But it's worth noting that code got slashed, absolutely slashed during the downturn. We got rid of a bunch of code officers, and code enforcement went right in the tank. And when you're thinking about who to send to City Hall, I think you need to think about budget priorities, because code is a quality of life spending item. And it is not compatible. We can't have great code enforcement if we blow the budget on big downtown projects.
Questions I was going to ask, I'm going to change it just a little bit. This is actually the last question. And I think it's a softball question. You'll get the chance to really get it out of the park on this one. And let us in on your inner secret, which is, on city council, anything that's going to be done requires a vote. So if we're going to try to get the pedestrian-friendly things happening uptown and anything else, you got to get 8 votes. And my question is, what is it about you that would enable you to work with the diverse group that is on the city council and get done what you want to get done for District 14?
Well, I told you I was a community leader and a volunteer coordinator. I have worked with various groups of people. People like me. I'm not just saying that. I know that at 60 years old, that's one of my good qualities. I know my strong suit. I can walk across the aisle. I can invite someone to my house for dinner. I can make friends with just about anybody. If you're alive, I can be your friend. I'm not kidding. I am really good at listening to other people. I listen to everything. I remember things about anyone. I can remember facts about them. That puts people at ease. It also makes them know that I am listening to them. I connect. I look at people's eyes. They can trust me. I'm very trustworthy. I know that I can get those votes. I know it. I just know it.
I'm not as good as Judy. I'm pretty good, but I'm not as good as Judy. As I told you in my opening remarks, if you look at the civic organizations I've been asked to join and ended up being elected president of, civic organizations do not elect people to leadership that do not get along with people in the organization, and they're not going to represent the organization well outside. One of my examples, it's actually not on there as an organization, but was a small Hispanic church in West Dallas that I was sent over to work with. And if you today go over to that church, most of them speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. But if you go over there and ask them their opinion of Jim Rogers, what they will tell you would make me blush. They think I'm just absolutely wonderful. And when I went in there to start off with, they were really hostile toward me. So anybody who can work in the situations I worked in and end up making the great relationships I have made is somebody who will do really well for you on the city council. Thank you.
I'll start off by saying I'm not that great and wonderful. It takes hard work, to be honest with you. The way you get 8 votes, and I'm the only person here who sat on a city board or commission, so I've gotten 8 votes. It takes hard work. It takes respecting people. It's how I was able to bring in the National Guard to tear down drug houses in southern Dallas and save the city money and protect neighborhoods. It's why my campaign has the most endorsements. We are building a coalition. It's why folks like Valletta Little, Ed Oakley, Craig Holcomb, Craig McDaniel, Metro Texas Association of Realtors, the Real Estate Council, and a whole host of others have chosen to support me because they realize that we have the big tent. We're the ones that are willing to let everyone come in, listen to all sides of the argument, and put in the time and effort it needs to get to a solution. So I would say that I've gotten 8 votes before, and I'll do it again for District 14.
Well, this is a total softball for me because I joke about it all the time. Because with a family of 8, 6 kids, I count to 8 every day, and I'm definitely the best. Definitely the best at counting to 8. I know how to do it in all different places, and so. But that's a softball because, you know, of course, they're little kids, and then we line up like little ducks, and they all follow each other. And it's real simple, believe it or not. The example that I would bring up is, truthfully, when I played college football. You might not see it, but it's a lot like the military. When you show up in a college football environment, you've got kids from all over the place, from all economic backgrounds, and we don't like each other. You think we do on Saturdays, but we don't. And they basically break you down, and you build friendships, and you'll build alliances. And there are people on the council that I could get along with. I have met Tanel Atkins, I've met Carolyn Davis. These are people that are very easy to reach across, talk with, get along with. There are natural alliances in the northern suburbs as well. I can be a bridge builder. I learned a lot playing football with a lot of different guys. I counted all kinds of people, my friends, and I would do it again on the council. That's it.
I think with 7 people, it'd be more beneficial to tell you not so much what I am, but what I'm not. And the answer is I'm not a lawyer. We have 3 of those running for this seat, and you know, you can think about what does a lawyer do every day? They get hired to go fight with people. Do we need more people to fight at City Hall? No. What else are the lawyers good at? They're good at making policy. They're good at reading really technical legal documents. They're good at bureaucracy. Do we need that more at City Hall? So what I bring a change of culture, a change of attitude. I bring new ideas. I bring a business perspective. I bring, you know, a different approach. And my approach right now in this process is getting to know other candidates, not just in this race, but in District 11, District 13. Some of the new faces, they're going to populate the City Council. In the next 2 elections, 9 new people will be on the City Council. I think it's essential you get to know them. And when they're elected, you can immediately start working with them.
In the last 5 years, I think I've had 20 cases before CPC and council, and I'm 20-0. So the way I know that I can get 8 votes is that I've consistently gotten 8 votes working for neighborhoods, representing neighborhoods all over District 14. I've been asked by over a dozen neighborhoods to help them with legal issues ranging from zoning and land use to getting code enforced. And I'm pretty proud of that record. I can go into Tanel's office and lobby him because I've done it before. He knows my name. He knows what I'm going to ask him for. I can go to Colonel Davis's office. I'm not going to get her vote every time, but she's not going to shut the door in my face, and she's not going to need to know who I am. I've done this a whole lot, and I can continue to do it for District 14. I'm really proud to have coalition builders endorsing me, guys like Rob Elmore back there. If you look at my endorsement list, you're going to see neighborhood association presidents.
Every day in my office, I am confronted by problems. Patients come to me, they have a problem, they expect me to fix it. They tell me the problem, we have to identify what the real issue is, we develop a plan, we implement the plan, we monitor progress as we move along. That is what you do with any problem. I have a long-standing history of doing so. Bringing people together and building coalitions, we did it with Meet East Dallas. I had the idea to bring all these organizations together. They all have different agendas, they serve different types of members. We brought them all together with all their different ideas, and we are having a blast doing so, and it is a fantastic opportunity for these people to get together and work on their issues. You've got to have results-based leadership. I have that. I've got the proven history of doing so. When you get people together, you can get things done. So you have a choice on City Council. Do you play nicely and get people together to get things done, or do you stay entrenched in your partisan ways? Do you stay entrenched in being divisive? You have to get people together, and I have a history of doing so.